All right, so when you're setting up your drum set, it's really important that you understand what feels comfortable to you and what works for you, and that you don't just automatically place things in arbitrary positions, okay? What I would say you should start with is first just get your seat, your drum chair. I don't have a drum chair, but this chair with the cushion is a good height for me, so I'm fine with this for right now. And basically, you want your drum stool to be at a height where your leg can be at a 90-degree angle, okay? So this one is fine for me. Some people prefer to sit up just a little bit because it does offer you like a bit of a like slightly more control, but then I feel like there's a balance between, if you're sitting too high, then it feels like you have to use your feet to balance, and that's not a good thing. So this is actually a great height for me right now. And you should try this out first as well. So 90 degrees. You always want to sit straight up when you're playing drums. I know it's hard, a lot of us do this. We do this, right? But you don't want to do that. Long term, that's not good for your back, and it actually restrains you when you're playing, right? Especially faster tempos, you want to be with a straight back and open like this, not closed like this. So that's super important, the height. If you are sitting too low, you are going to feel like this, and your legs are going to be up a little bit. This is going to be a weird angle for you, and you are going to develop pain here, most likely, okay? If you are sitting too high, like I said, you're going to, at some point, feel like you are like, woo, you're not really balanced. So you're going to have to balance with your feet, which obviously you don't want to be doing because you're using your feet. So you don't want to use your feet to balance when you're trying to use your feet to play the bass drum and the hi-hat, okay? So as soon as you figure out the height for you, you can try this with the pedals as well, because it might change your perception of how high you need to sit. Then basically just set up your bass drum. It should be right in front of your leg, not at a weird angle. Okay, so my leg is like this, the bass drum is here, okay? It's perpendicular. Here, the hi-hat is probably going to be, if my leg is like this, my hi-hat foot is going to be slightly like this, just because of the positioning of hi-hats and the complexity of like fitting all of the stands into one place. So yeah, like this leg is straight for me and this leg is slightly outwards, if that makes sense. Regarding the distance of where you're sitting, like how far you're sitting from the bass drum, I would say you want your foot to be playing the bass drum pedal like right beside those two columns, right? That's where your toes should go. Your toes shouldn't be touching the chain, but like away from the chain a little bit. And your foot here shouldn't be squished like this. Your leg shouldn't be like this. Your leg should be straight. Especially in jazz, because you're going to be playing a lot of heel down, and if your leg is like too far back, you're going to develop a lot of pain and you're going to have a lot of problems, okay? So make sure that this foot is very comfortable playing the bass drum and adjust the distance accordingly. With your hi-hat, I play with my heel up, so I just need to have enough distance for my leg again to feel comfortable so that it's not squished. So actually, even the way I'm sitting, I can like move slightly towards the hi-hat in this case because I was feeling a little bit too far away. Now I feel like I'm under control and my leg is still at 90 degrees here. So this feels good for me. Both of my legs feel really good now. The next thing you want to set up would be the ride cymbal. And the ride cymbal is a bit tricky. It depends what you are doing with it and how you play the ride. What I would suggest to you is first just put your arm out like this, how you would naturally play the ride, right? Just close your eyes. Make sure that your elbow is not out, that your elbow is close to your body, that this is comfortable, and just notice here this angle, right? It's not 90 degrees because if it was 90 degrees, I wouldn't be able to use my wrist. This motion would be really hard for me if it was at 90 degrees. But as soon as I put it up here, this motion becomes way easier. Okay? If I have it up here, this is just going to be too close to my face because like I can't set up a ride cymbal right here, right? And the angle would be insane. So first figure out, okay, that feels good to me. Okay, great. So about here is where I should have the ride. And actually it seems like my ride now is a little bit too low for me, okay? So I want it like about here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it closer, first of all. I'm going to figure out the angle that it should be at based on my arm angle. It should be about here. So I think the angle is correct, but I think the height is not quite there. So I'll just lift it up slightly and then we'll see where we're at. All right, so let's check this. Okay, this feels good. So this angle feels good. It feels pretty natural. I can move my wrist properly. I don't feel like my shoulder is moving up. That's the other thing. If the cymbal is too high for you, you feel like your shoulder is up here. So your shoulder should be relaxed. And then so I think that's pretty good for me. Both the angle and the height, I think that's pretty close. And I can reach the bell as well. Okay, I think that'll be fine. The next thing is the snare. If you play traditional grip, I guess you lean your snare at least a little bit. And I seem to lean my snare both slightly away from me and slightly to the right side, okay? Because when I'm playing, usually it's about this angle that I'm playing at. So basically, I tried to match the angle of the snare to the stick, okay? So play around with that. Again, if you look at my arm here, it's gonna be pretty much 90 degrees. What I did was I just put my arm here and I said, okay, this is comfortable now, right? So it shouldn't be like here, like it is on the other side, because then you feel like you're poking a little bit at the drum. Like that's too much of an angle. And here you can still move freely, right? Because the snare drum movement is a little bit different from the ride movement because you're rotating your wrist instead of using your wrist this way. So you can have this 90-degree angle here. And it becomes more comfortable, actually. So that's pretty good. The best way to figure this out is obviously to play. So I don't know, I'll have to play around with the ride height. Maybe that's why it was a little bit lower, because now I'm feeling like maybe my shoulder is creeping up. And that's something that tends to happen to me, that I've noticed. So that is possible why the ride was a little bit lower. But that's something I'll have to try. But yeah, with your toms, like I don't have any toms here, but the same thing goes for your toms, right? It's like you want to be able to reach your toms comfortably, and if your mounting system off of your bass drum is not working for you, then just get a snare drum stand and make sure you can move it to where you want it, okay? Same with the bass, the floor tom. Make sure that it's a comfortable place, you know? Like my ride is usually pretty close to me, so sometimes it's weird to have my floor tom here in line with my snare. So sometimes my floor tom is like here, okay? And it creates a bit of a different shape actually. And then there's quite a bit of space between the high tom and the floor tom, which creates other problems. But because I'm small, like for me, that's the easiest way that I can set up my drums and be comfortable. The other way is like moving the floor tom all the way here and then having these two really close, which is ideal. But then I have to like kind of work around with my ride cymbal and move it off to the side almost. So that kind of makes me open up my arm this way, and sometimes there's tension here. So you really have to play around with what works for you, and you have to, based on that, set up your drums and be very careful with the angles and the heights of everything. So yeah. I hope you take this seriously, and I hope you take the time to figure out how to set these up, because it really will change the experience for you, and it'll help you feel better when you're playing, right? Because this instrument, I mean, it's like a bunch of different instruments together, so how can we expect it to be ergonomic, right? If we don't put in the time to set it up in that way. So yeah, let me know if you have questions, and see you next time.